How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. I thought I was worried a little bit to see what type of turnout we're gonna have. I know that y'all are probably trying to get to the polls and everything and are glued on the television like we are here. So as we prepare for the final exam, what questions do you all have?
For me, I guess, should I be more focused on like the equation part or the answer, like discerning the answer part? I don't know if that makes sense, but
So, all right. So I think that this is a question that everybody wants. So you know what? I might just change this. So I'm looking through the final exam now. So the final exam is going to be 50 questions, but oh, it's on Proctor. It's on Proctor U. All right, so yeah. The exam is going to be 50 questions. You're going to have 2 hours to take it. Now, I was going to try to change the time span, but because it's being used through Proctor U, I'm unable to do that. But one thing I can do is, so what I'm gonna do is, you heard it here first. Whoever makes the highest grade in the class gets bumped to 100, and then everybody else gets curved from that. Does that make sense?
sure.
So for example, if the highest grade in the class is a 90, then everyone gets 10 points on your exam. All right. Is that fair?
Yes, thank you, Professor.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So Mark, to answer your question, there's going to be a mix, I will say. All right. Now, give me a second here. I'm going through everything now.
Professor, can I
Yes.
have a question? Can I ask a question? I was reading, or well, actually, you mentioned it before that you're gonna let us use one sheet with the formulas, but the formulas are a lot of formulas. I don't know if I can put all my formulas in just one piece of paper. It's gonna be double sides,
So,
back and forth.
so I think that the directions actually say you have that formula page. So there should be a formula page. So
You're gonna give it to us as part of the exam?
Give me a second. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's see here. So final exam. Oh, you must schedule with your proctor 72 hours in advance. Like I said, 50 questions, you have 2 hours to complete it. Each question is worth 5 points. So comprehensive exam, where the PowerPoints and articles are going to be, it's going to be based on PowerPoints and articles. And also, I think exam sheet, give me a second. so students are allowed to bring a Word or PDF document that has all the formulas studied in the course. All right. So you have one piece of paper. There is no identification of the font minimum. So just try to get all the formulas on one piece of paper.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Double side. I mean, you know, back and forth, or just one page from.
Well, no. Well, I take that back. It says no page limit. So as long as there are formulas on the document, there's no page limit. So I'll take that back.
Okay, so you know, because you gave us you know, copies of formulas.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's about, I don't know how many pages, is maybe 5, 6 pages or more.
Mm-hmm.
Formulas
Well,
only.
there's no page. As long as there are formulas on there, you're all good.
See, it's only formulas, and probably in my behalf, I can use those formulas only.
But you're only allowed to bring formulas on the final.
Yeah, that is all you gave us, is formulas. That's the same document, and probably I'm adding, you know, because you have some shortcuts in the formulas that I'm adding it, you know, but it's nothing but formulas in there.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what you. Did
That's
anyone
correct?
use that? Did anyone use that? Yes, that's correct. Did anyone use that formula sheet on the midterm?
We didn't have.
I don't think we had a midterm.
We did not have a midterm. We had quizzes.
Just the quizzes.
So listen. Oh, I thought we already had another proctor. I'm getting my class mixed up. My fault. There's another one. There's another one that used a proctor you halfway through in week 2, I think, or week 2 or 3. My fault. So if you go to quizzes, and you will see the final. You have to schedule it. You have to schedule it within the last 72 hours notice. And also there is the. So then make sure that you select that final exam, and make sure you go through the directions, because there is a Z table and T table document as well within there.
Okay.
All right.
If we wanted to take the test before Sunday, is that okay?
As long as it's 72 hours notice for Proctor U.
Okay.
And please don't wait until Sunday
At midnight.
please don't wait till Sunday at 9 in the morning to try to schedule your proctor. You might have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say a general rule of thumb is, like, go ahead and schedule a proctor now for, like, you know, whenever you know that you can sit on Sunday for 2 hours, whether it be in the morning before before your kids get up, if you have kids, or Sunday night. You know, whatever 2 hour time frame where you know that you're going to be able to allocate and sit, schedule. Just go ahead and schedule it now. Go ahead and schedule it now. That way you know the time that you're shooting toward. You know, otherwise, I don't. And this is just from my experience. This is from teaching within a competency-based education environment where you have to use a proctor to schedule exams. And if you don't schedule these proctored exams in advance, you keep putting it off, and then whenever you're prepared, whenever you're ready for this proctored exam, you've already waited too late. You're trying to schedule it Saturday night, and now because you're outside the 72-hour time limit, now you can't schedule anything. You know, so I would highly suggest that you go ahead and schedule that appointment now. Okay, that makes sense?
It makes sense, Professor. Thank you.
Okay. So so again, go to quizzes. Make sure that you read through all of those directions. There is a Z table and T table document within that document. Okay. That Z table document is 4 pages, but there's also you know, the other formula sheets as well. Mark, I still haven't answered your question, so give me a second.
It's all good.
Professor, for calculations, are we going to be able to use Excel, or everything is gonna be manual?
So you should be able to, so for calculations, you should be, that you have access, you can use a calculator.
The calculator?
Yes. So because if you try to go to another screen, you're gonna get an error message.
Oh, okay, okay, I
You know,
got
saying
you.
it's gonna
Yes,
kick
I
you
get
out
it, I
because they
get it.
think you're cheating, right? Even though you're not. That's
No, no,
just
no.
the logic that's built into the application itself.
Mm.
So,
Um,
Professor, this is Amin. Sorry to interrupt, but on the instructions, I did read that we were allowed to use a blank Excel sheet.
Let me see here. Give me a second.
Yeah, I remember that same thing, Aman.
Yeah,
Let me confirm that. Give me a second. So you can use a calculator. Oh, you're allowed to open a blank new Excel file. Okay. Right before the calculator is to reference. Okay. So yeah, you can. My apologies on that one. So in terms of the assessment, you're going to have to understand how to calculate T-scores. So write this down. Here's your hints. So understand how to calculate T-scores, understand how to understand confidence intervals. Let me see, is this being recorded? Yeah. Understand the different types of basic statistics. So you're going to be given a scenario and you're going to have to select the most appropriate statistical model. If that makes sense. Okay. So, you know, and that's in terms of, you know, hypothesis testing and things like that. And, you know, whether you need you know, what type of t-test, you know, whether it's a one sample t-test, two sample t-test, things like that. Understand ANOVA. And I would say, as a general rule of thumb, if you understand the definitions of these statistical models, you are a good part of the way there. Okay, I will say that. But understand ANOVA, understand the t-tests, understand confidence intervals. And again, understand those scenarios. So yes, those are going to be, do not be intimidated by the size of the verbiage. You know, I would say to just understand that it's just simply providing you with a scenario. You have to choose the correct statistical model. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, like I said, you have to understand what type of t-test to use. Like for example, single or multiple linear regression. So understand the difference between single and multiple linear regression. Understand the equations. So hint. Okay. If you have the formulas, you're gonna get the answers just from the formula sheet. So make sure you bring the formula sheet. All right. Understand central tendency, mean, median, and mode. That's the easy parts, the easy things on central tendency. Understand understand what standard deviation is used for. You're not going to have to do any kind of hardcore calculations. I will say that. Also, again, there's going to be a lot of situational type questions. There's going to be a few fill in the blanks. Central tendency.
So there's fill in the blanks, you said?
Yeah, like fill. So they're going to say this is used for this, right? Or you have these two variables. Blank is the best tool to use for this. Something like that. That makes sense.
Gotcha.
Or it's gonna talk about correlation and things like that, and you have to choose the correct definition. Also for statistical significance, you're going to be given an example, and you're going to be given an example of a table. So a table like within SPSS or within R or within Python, and you're going to have to make a determination of what's that telling you. So for example, you're going to be given an output, and you're going to be given the statistical significance, and it's going to say, okay, based on this number, what is that telling you from this data, right? So understand that. Again, you don't have to calculate anything. It's just, you're just essentially assessing the outputs of the data. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Also, you're going to so understand linear regression. Understand what p-values tell you. Also, p-values. There's a few things about p-values. Understand ANOVA. So understand how to read those ANOVA outputs. There's quite a few questions on ANOVA. Linear regression. Understand linear regression. Understand what the correlation coefficient means. Y'all writing this down, right?
Yep.
All right. So yeah, your formula sheet is going to be very helpful. Hint, hint.
Is there a lot of hypothesis stuff, or
There's quite a
not so?
bit in there. There's quite a bit on here. It's quite a bit. Understand adjusted R. But again, you're not having. I think the most important thing is, and I can't stress it, you're not going to have to calculate anything, right? You're just for hypothesis testing, you're just reviewing like the outputs and making a determination on those outputs. That makes sense?
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Multiple regression. Understand that. Understand adjusted R. Understand sampling methods. Understand the importance of populations. Understand the importance of relative frequencies. Understand frequency distribution. Yeah, and then there's a couple gimmies in here. There's a couple gimmies in here. Understand the different types of data. Statistical versus non-statistical sampling. Different diagrams such as stem and leaf diagrams, bar charts, X bar and R charts, things like that. Histograms, bar chart, the difference between histograms and bar charts, understand that. Again, standard deviation. All this stuff is coming directly from I would say every single bit of this stuff is coming directly from those lectures, from those videos, it's coming from the PowerPoints, it's coming from the text, and it's coming from those recorded lectures. All this stuff is coming from there. There's very few I have yet to see a calculation question yet. Again, confidence interval, hypothesis testing. There's 3 hypothesis tests back to back. Then there's another hypothesis test. Z-test, but you have the Z-test table, so that should be you should be in decent shape on that one. We said confidence intervals. Hypothesis testing. ANOVA. So yeah, I mean, I think that, well, hopefully you've seen the trend where, one, you don't have to perform any calculations. 2, you're going to have quite a few hypothesis test questions. You're going to have quite a few linear regression test questions. You're going to have quite a few ANOVA questions. So again, if you have a good handle on those statistical models, I think you're going to do very well. If you watch each one of those weekly discussions, each one of those weekly lectures, you're going to do very well. All right. And like I said, there's a good number of these. They're not a good number. There are a few. I'll say there are a few formula related questions on this exam, where if you have your formula sheet, the answer is right there. Okay. Now I will say that there is a pool. I think there's a pool of 150 questions. It's roughly 150. So I went through 150 questions. Well, no, there's 154 questions, and the exam is only 50. Okay, so give me a second. All right, give me a second. Any questions while I'm checking something real quick? Any questions?
No, not really. Not for me.
Okay. I just want to run through something real quick. Let's see if interesting. So yeah, it's taking it. So there's a number of questions within this pool, and this randomly selecting 50 questions because I just ran it within my student view, and it's randomly pulling those 50 questions. So again, correlation, linear regression. Know the different types of graphs. Understand adjusted R. Again, it's giving you a scenario. Oh, residual plots. That's one I forgot. So understand residual plots. We did talk about Z-test and T-test. Know the different scales. So interval ordinal scales, things like that. Confidence intervals, as I said. sampling error, again, central tendency. There's quite a few questions on that. There's 3 back to back in the one I just received. Make sure you bring in your formulas. Hypothesis testing. Z-score. Hypothesis testing. Scenario with types of data, whether it's ordinal or nominal data. Correlations. T-test. Z-test. Frequency distribution. T-test. Confidence interval. So you can see, if you understand confidence intervals and t-test, you're going to get like 4 questions right there.
But you said we're not solving for.
You're not calculating anything.
Okay.
Well, I'll take that back. I'll take that back. There's simple calculations. Okay. But you're given 4 options, so you can work backward and get the answer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is there's nothing too complicated. There's nothing complicated from a calculation perspective. Okay. Now for the calculation questions, if you want to get technical, there are in my pool I just pulled. In my pool, again, results may vary, but I just did a pool at 150 questions. And this particular pool, one, two, three, oh shit, I lied, 4, 5, Z-score 6, but Z-score you have the table, so I don't. But it is a calculation. But you have the table, so 5.5, 6.
Just luck of the draw, sounds like.
Yep, 6. 7. 7 out of 50 on this one, on that pool. But as I said, so there was one of them. There was 2 of them that were asked for Z scores or T scores. You had the table, so I have to do is look at the table to get the calculation, right? So I think I would say that every single pool will have like a Z scores or T score that you're asked about, where all you have to do is go refer to the table to get the answer essentially. So they're pretty much giving. I would say you're giving answers for about 7 or 8 of them. If you have the formulas, if you have the Z table and T table, they're giving you 5 or 6 or 7 answers off top, right? So, I'm sharing this information because I know that people are terrified about statistics, where it's not that much statistics. I mean, yes, you might think that 7's a lot. 7 out of 50 is a big number, but again, a lot of those questions are on the Z tables and T tables where you have to just simply look it up. And then the remainder is you have the formulas, you're just plugging the numbers in. You're given the answer out of 4 options. You're just plugging numbers in, right? It's not like you have to go into Excel and figure it out. They're giving you a proposed answer. You know, so I'm trying to explain that, you know, it's not that difficult. And like I said, whoever scores the highest grade, they get bumped to 100, and everyone else gets that difference. Okay. So, any other questions?
In module 0, there's a formula sheet, about 10 pages, and it says list of formulas for BUS 606 created by Luke Gray. Can we use this formula sheet in the final?
Give me a second. Module 0, modules. Come on. Now I have to go back to my version. Modules. Oh, formula sheet. Here we go. Yes. You're able to use this. So you're able to use this, and then the Z-score and T-score.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Along with the blank Excel spreadsheet.
Professor, once again, I'm so sorry. This is Norma. So you're gonna allow us to bring, you know, the formulas, no matter how many pages. That's what I hear. Is that correct?
There is no minimum. Okay. There is no minimum.
Only
page.
Formulas in the page. Yes, I can
Correct.
show that to the person in the screen, but you know, I think I need my formulas with me.
Right. Yes. Make sure. Yeah. Make sure to print
Thank
it out.
you so much.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure to print it out, because from experience, some of these proctors can give a real pain.
No, I did.
I'm just warning you
Thank
right now. So just make sure that you all have those formulas printed out. Okay. Any other questions? Anything else?
I'm good.
Okay. So yeah, I'm going to I'm going to put that one specific, let's see here, for the page. Exam policy. Put all your formulas related to each chapter and topic as an Excel document while taking your final exam. No page limit here. All right, so I'm putting, come on, in the document that we just talked about, if I can actually make modifications. I'm adding that document in parentheses. That way, if one of these proctors causes issues, say, hey, it's right here. The document that I have is right here. So there we go. Give me a second. You know, it's laid out within the exam policy. All right. So yeah, I just added that into the exam policy notes, and we should be good to go. Okay.
Sounds like a lot of these questions are from the quizzes a little bit, maybe. I don't know if that.
Absolutely. They're from the quizzes, they're from the readings. I didn't want to mention the quizzes because when you mention the quizzes, then people only study the quizzes and think they're going to pass. Right.
Gotcha.
So I don't mention the quizzes, but the content comes directly from the PowerPoints and comes from the lectures. Okay. So, but you are correct that some of these do come from the quizzes, but you can't. Well, I just want to stress that you cannot depend on the quizzes and pass this final.
The videos, the class, I mean the materials.
Right.
All that. Okay.
Yep. So even if you have a somewhat of an understanding of the topics that I talked about whenever I was going through the exam, you're going to be okay because they don't. There's the answers aren't there to trick you. If you know it, you're gonna. The correct answer is going to be obvious. That makes sense, right? So I will say that I think that everyone's going to do very well, and once again, we're going to give the highest person 100, and then everyone else gets a curve. All right. So the last request I have is, moving forward, what could be done to improve this course? I know it was because the one thing I want to gauge is it's heavy in statistics, and I actually gave some pushback to that, and to Susan, I said this thing is heavy in statistics. I said we need more real life examples, more real life scenarios, right? And I think that's what you all want. But
yes.
if we say it again.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, definitely. Something that is applicable, to the daily things that we do,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Who else has some feedback?
Yeah, the videos were good. They were helpful.
Yes.
I think I used that the tutor thing a couple times.
Yeah.
And talking to someone else, and for one of the questions on the homework, they said the person refused to actually go through the math, some of the math with them, like do
the tutor refused?
That's what they told me. Yeah. So they're like, they're not going to do that. And I was like, they're like, there's no, I guess this gist was that there's no way, like they would never do that in real life. So why are we doing this?
Do you remember what's in that Kartik? Was it you?
I mean, it happened to me once. I've heard of other people that happened to as well. It's just you bring the question, and your questions to the assignments are based on scenarios, and they're split up into sections. And so you kind of want to walk through some of the math, just the math. You're not looking for explanations or anything. You're stuck in at some point you don't know how to go further, and they don't want to walk through it with you. They kind of tell you the theory behind what you're trying to do, but they just kind of cut you off at that point.
Interesting. So it was kind of like worthless in a way.
Yeah, for this class, after that first time, I didn't rely on the net tutor anymore because.
I never used the tutor.
You did? You didn't, or you did?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
Did anyone else use it?
I didn't.
Okay.
That kind of gets to the point you were talking about, if it's super statistics heavy, or is it like, do you want us to, should the goal be to understand the formulas, or should the goal be to understand the results of what these different tests tell you and how to read those correctly, which I feel like is more important personally. But
So the reason why I'm actually teaching this class is because of that, where I developed a data analytics class for the Jack Welch Management Institute, their executive MBA program, and we didn't crunch a single number, you know. And when I explained that to Susan and Nick, they said, "Okay, run this class and give me your thoughts," you know. But I have my thought. My thoughts is exactly what you said, Mark. It's I want you all, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, I want you to understand the outputs. I want you to understand the results. And I want you to understand essentially, yes, I want you to understand linear regression. I want you to understand multiple linear regression, but I don't care about you. I don't care about you calculating it, right? I want you to understand. I want you to look at the situation and I want you to kind of make that managerial decision to say, okay, you need to go and you need to go to your analyst and say, I think we need to use linear regression for this. What do you think? Right?
Mhm.
So you can confidently work with the analyst who has to know this stuff, who has to crunch these numbers. There are people who need to know this stuff, not us as MBA people, not us as MBA professionals, you know, and directors. You know, so that's where I come from, and that was my thoughts. But I just wanted to I just wanted to validate that, you know, from you all's end. You know, again, that's my opinion, but I just wanted to make sure that you all were on the same page.
I mean, yeah, I don't think it. I mean, I was spending a lot of time doing these formulas, and then I was like, oh, you can just go to Excel and type in, just highlight some cells and
Yeah.
get an input, and it's like, what, what am I doing? Why
Yeah.
am I doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
it,
and that's another thing where I don't think I think Solver was mentioned, but Solver does all this stuff. Like 3-click Solver does all this stuff in Excel. And also there are tools such as R, such as Python, and such as Tableau that perform these calculations for you. Now, as I said in the first week, I do agree with taking you all through some level of pain for the calculations, right? I do agree with that,
mhm,
but not the entire course,
mhm,
right? Now, I do I do agree with how the final exam is set up. I do agree with how some of the quizzes are set up, because you have to understand some of those things. You have to understand some of those variables. You have to understand dependent independent variables. You know, you have
mhm.
to understand central tendency. You have to understand standard deviation. You use that as a leader. You use those things every single day, right? But you input them in the ERP system. You input them into Tableau. You input them into, or your data analyst, I should say, inputs them into R, into Python. You know, so I think this class is too statistics heavy. So I think that I'm gonna suggest we go back to the drawing board. We keep some of the calculations, but I think that it should be more geared toward using this data to make managerial decision making managerial decisions. I was like 0 for 3 on that. Managerial decisions. Okay. So thank you for that feedback. That was the main thing that I wanted from my end, just to get your thoughts on that. Um, but I do like those end of week things where you're applying your thoughts, and everyone, I try to give everyone, although it said 0 points, I give everyone extra credit just for doing that. Those who did that, because I think that's very beneficial to each individual. Okay. So with that,
Getting the feedback from our peers also help a lot.
and that's what it's
That really I
all about.
appreciate a lot. And also the work that we do in groups, that I think is very powerful, because it makes us more accountable, And I think it's part of the process, you know, and especially in the setting that we are, you know, in right now. Definitely is not 20 hours a week. I did not spend 20 hours a week in this class. I spent way more than 20 hours a week. You know, it was a lot of
I'm listening
hours
to the live
because
Zoom right now.
Does everyone else agree with that? It was more than 20 hours?
yeah, it was not 20 hours a week.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Dana, what were you saying?
Oh, sorry, I was talking to my friend that's here.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So this class definitely, you know, give us a lot of tools, but at the same time, you know, I was in my mind, I was like, okay, 20 hours, 25 hours. Nope, it was not 20, 25 hours. It was a lot of hours. Every day I will put at least 5 hours, you know, of the time, which was very worth it because I learned a lot.
But now you love statistics and
I love
analytics.
it, Professor. You know, I love it a lot. No, it's actually very helpful. No, it was totally worth it because I learned that you know, the videos on how to use Excel really help a lot. I feel so confident about the formulas and things like that. I'm feeling good about it, but definitely it's not 20 hours. If you don't have 20 hours of your time, that is the challenging part. Or if it's hard for you to structure your time to give at least 20 hours, it is challenging.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you for that feedback. Yeah. Okay. Any other feedback? Okay.
Sorry, I'm just gonna add this. I feel like the project was really helpful because you could actually feel like you are working in that company and you have to make decisions based on the data and the results that we get. So I really enjoyed doing the project with my group. It was really helpful.
Good. That's great feedback. I appreciate that because that's another thing where we also want to assess whether or not the students like their projects or not, because we always think that these classes are the best thing since sliced bread, right? But then you come back in and say this thing is awful. Like it was 40 hours, and then like every student says it's 40 hours. So okay, we have to make some changes. So yeah, we're gonna have to look at this class and make some changes. Now, are you saying that you spent like more around like 30 hours or 25 hours, or how many hours roughly?
For the project or for the class?
The class each week, roughly, you think?
I would say 25 to 30 hours.
Okay.
Yes, or even more sometimes. Yeah, I agree with that.
What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think around there. I was probably on the higher end. If they're gonna keep it more, the problem I had with the formulas was sometimes I didn't even know if I was going in the right direction. So I would say if they're gonna keep it more statistics heavy, like give a couple answers that show the math, and
Yeah.
kind of just so you can kind of that's what I'm supposed to do, as opposed to I just see an answer and then I'm like, how did maybe
Yeah, I'll go with it.
yeah, it's like, okay, that's the answer. It's like, how did they necessarily get that? Where maybe I'm like, I messed up somewhere early, or whatever. But like a couple of example, like work through the problems might help a little bit more. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, even in the videos, if they can, I agree with you, Mark. If they can add some exercises where they can guide you, because yes, sometimes just the reading itself, it can make you lost because it doesn't have, it seems like the explanation of the actual situation comes, like 20 pages behind and we are already in the 34 and they're just barely asking you this. So it's not, doesn't flow sometimes, but when they were explaining the video, it really helped. Whatever exercise, was explained to to us, I think was very helpful. The other thing that I wanted to give a feedback is, if they don't, sometimes the writing that that the other professor was doing, I don't want to say, but did not have a good writing, and it was very hard to read and to follow, like what he put in there. So
what do you mean?
When they write, when they draw, use the drawing to show the calculations, sometimes
Oh, I see.
was messy and was hard to follow. I'm dyslexic, and that was like my eyes were moving all over trying to figure out. I watched every video probably around 5 times.
Okay.
Especially when he writes, it was difficult to follow, at least for me. I don't know if if I'm too complicated, but because I am dyslexic, it did not help a lot when he was showing, when he printed, and it was a lot easier than when he was writing on it.
Okay, that's good. That's good feedback. I appreciate that. So in that case, did you try to print out the transcript for those videos?
No.
Just curious. Okay.
No,
Some
I
people,
was
some
just
people like to print out the transcript and like just read the transcript and then kind of follow it. So if they don't get it, then because like the transcript will have like the timestamp of whenever he says something, and if you don't get it, you can like refer back to the transcript. I know it's extra work, but some people like that. That's why I'm throwing it out there.
I didn't know how to do it. This is the first time I hear about that. But
Okay,
that's a great idea, whatever it is.
And this is actually, I mean, this is actually for any class within the program. So if you make sure I save this change, give me a second. So if you go to modules, oh man, let me show my screen. If you go to modules, and if I go to, let's just say for giggles, well, I don't know, will a student be able to see it? I think you should be able to.
I think it was on the actual videos themselves, if you wanted to, on the bottoms of them.
Right, yeah. So I know for a fact I can see it in my view. So right here, so transcript. You see that, correct? Correct, Mark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So if I go into a video
Mm-hmm.
and then I can play that, and then I hit that transcript.
Okay, that's another learning. That's great. Thank you.
Excuse me?
That's another learning. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's why I meant by
wow.
the transcript will show you like exactly like the timestamp. So you'll know exactly where he's at.
Yeah. No, I understood what he said when he was writing. That was the hard part.
Okay. But
I
was just
understand.
saying, I was just showing you that for
That's great. Thank you.
But I do want to say that, I mean, this is my 4th term here. I usually teach the supply chain management class, and I would say that this is this cohort is probably the largest I've had. Probably that attend every session every single week. Yes, I'll get people that I'll get half the class to show up that first week, but then they kind of drop off, and then I end up with like 3 or 4 people. But so I do want to say thank you for that. I do want to say thank you for showing up in these sessions, because it's very helpful. I mean, it's very helpful for me to get feedback from you all to see how to make these courses better, because that's what we're here for. I'm here for you all to be successful. And I just hope that you learned something from this class. And I will say from a data analytics perspective, data is going to drive the future. It's going to drive decision making in the future. I talk a lot about data analytics within organizations, and I think that we need to include like the artificial intelligence and machine learning aspect, because I talk about that in conferences around the world. I just spoke about it. I spoke about artificial intelligence and sustainability last Wednesday at a conference in Asia. That was recorded. So a lot of organizations are interested in it because we've seen the benefits. We've seen the benefits with the Netflix. We've seen the benefits with the Amazons. We've seen the benefits with the pandemic in uncovering viable proposed solutions for a vaccine. I always say that we refer to the data. We refer to the data where they were able to arrive to a proposed solution in a matter of weeks that would take these doctors months or years to figure out. And I did that through artificial intelligence. So I know I was drilling that the first couple of weeks, but that's the future of business. And you don't have to be an expert, and it's just like with these calculations and formulas. These calculations and formulas are the foundation of artificial intelligence and machine learning. But these data scientists are the ones that have to memorize this stuff. The data scientists are the ones that are going to have to create these AI and ML algorithms, right? It's not you all. It's the job of you to understand what use cases are applicable for these tools. Does that make sense? So for example, we're using artificial intelligence a lot within certain industries for forecasting. So for predictive analytics, we're creating artificial intelligence algorithms to predict, when we're going to see a forecasting spike or a demand spike, I should say. And there are a lot of emerging tools. So another tool is referred to as demand sensing. I think I mentioned that in one of the early weeks. Where demand sensing kind of pulls all this data from social media, Facebook, Instagram, any other social media sites, and they're scraping websites for data, and feedback. And they're using demand sensing to make immediate adjustments to organizations' demands, right? So these tools that you're saying and these statistics, these statistics are what's going to be are what drives those tools. That's the foundation. That's within the crux of these tools. So it's going to be the job of you all to understand. Okay, it would be a good idea if I could do this, this, and this. For my business. I think that I can create a artificial intelligence algorithm for that. Then you go to your data scientist, and he comes back and says, "Oh, I think we have to embed this multiple linear regression model to get there." Oh, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think it's a great idea. That's what this class was for, right? You're not going to be developing these algorithms, but now you can confidently agree on that approach that these data scientists are going to come back with you on. Okay, so I know I just went off on a tangent right there, but I mean that's I always, I mean, especially in the last class, I always want to explain the why. I always want to explain the why for a class, in that it was not a class for you to understand formulas and for you to memorize formulas. It's a class that is an input to the future of business. I always say that I think that AI and ML is going to change the world. But I'm actually using these tools to change the world for good. So I'm actually working with the AI Nittany. I'm working with the AI Nittany Alliance at Penn State, and I actually have a team of students from Penn State that developed an artificial intelligence application to fight literacy in Africa. So we're using these tools to make positive impacts on the world. And I just hope that, you all have that, in the back of your mind, and I hope that you all do the same. Okay. So I will leave you with that. Any other questions?
No, Professor, thank you so much for everything.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. You all have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Professor, one more question. The Excel, are you gonna, I didn't hear if we're gonna be able to open one Excel sheet for
Yes,
calculations.
one empty Excel
Sí, sí.
spreadsheet.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah, you as well.